Kwe Albert Dumont Ninjanakas, Kitchissippi Ninonjaba, Kakina Ninja Wenagane Kij Kenimikog Oshki Noden. It's really great to be here with you today at Akikojiwan, also known as Sinabka. It's a windy day, but it's a beautiful day. There's birds in the sky, and I'm sitting on a rock as old as time, and there's flowers, and I'm at peace. I want everybody to know that right now I'm at peace, and I wish everyone well. We're near the Kitchissippi, known as the Ottawa River. And whenever I think of water, I think of life. I think of medicine. Water is medicine. Water is a healer. And I think if the definition of the word love could be rendered down into a fluid state, that it would become water. We don't seem to care enough about water. I'm told, and I believe it too, that the oceans are dying, and it's heartbreaking not only to know that the ocean waters are dying, but what is so heartbreaking for me, that not enough people care. I know that the indigenous peoples of Turtle Island had nothing to do with killing water. If there's poisons in the ocean, we would have rather that there was none. As far as I know, Creator never gave human beings a ceremony to honor dead water. And that's because Creator never ever expected that human beings would kill water someday. But that's what we're doing now. Because of industry, there's waters up in Grassy Narrows that's full of mercury. It's undrinkable. The waters become poison for the people who have lived there for many, many thousands of years. And whenever I think about this sacred site and how badly the world needs sacred sites, and I think about the struggle we had to stop development from coming here, and we lost. There's development occurring here. Condos are being built, businesses are being built, and the sacred site is being forgotten. I know some people were saying that pollution drove spirit out of here and it was no longer sacred. That's what some people said. As ugly and as nasty as pollution can get, it doesn't have that kind of power that it could drive spirit out of a sacred place. The purity and the innocence of water, the purity and innocence of spirit has always been here since this place was created by the receding waters of the Ice Age, and that's the way Creator intended it. We have this sacred site. The United Nations made a declaration that Indigenous people could practice their spiritual beliefs undisturbed by governments and by right-wing groups or whoever. In Canada, It became legal to practice indigenous spiritual beliefs in 1954. But yet, whenever we came to protect this sacred site, we lost our right to indigenous spiritual beliefs was denied to us. This world is broken. The people of this world are broken. What has been stored in the human heart for thousands of years has somehow been removed from the hearts of most people of this world. We need to restore our humanity. We need to understand more what it is to be a human being. How special it is to be a human being. How sacred it is to be a human being. We need to understand again what it is to love and to be truly loved. I've said it before to people that to imagine that they have a grand house, and in their house there's 2 rooms, and one room is where they keep all the things of wealth. That in that room they have $100,000 in cash that nobody knows anything about. And in the other room, that's where they keep well their commitment to humanity. And I ask people to imagine that one night the house catches on fire. And they only have time to go to one of those rooms to save the contents of that room and then escape with their lives. And I ask people, which room would you go to? Would you go to that room where you keep $100,000, or would you go to the room where you keep well your commitment to humanity? And I know I've asked that question point blank to some people, and they couldn't answer right away. They were left in silence, and the minutes passed, and then finally they said, I think I would go to the room where I keep well my definition of what it is to be a human being. But nobody should have to think about it. It's not going to be how much money you acquired in your life that's going to mean something spiritually whenever you leave this world physically. It's going to be how good of a human being you are that's going to amount to something. It's not going to be how good of a Canadian you were. It's not going to be how much you saluted the flag or stood for the national anthem that's going to mean something after you physically die. It's going to be how good of a human being you are. People need to understand something very clearly. I do not want to tear down Canada. I want everybody to know that I love Canada. I want you to know that in my family, my kid brother joined the armed forces, and he served in the army for 3 years, and then he served on the battleship, the Saskatchewan, for 3 years, and then his intention was to join the Canadian Airborne, but he was killed by a drunk driver. My kid brother was prepared to put his life on the line for Canada. I know that the children who died in residential schools can forgive Canada. I know that the children who died in residential schools can forgive Canadians who had nothing to do with the residential schools. But I also know that the children who died in residential schools will never ever forgive Canada's first Prime Minister, or Duncan Campbell Scott, or Ryerson, or any other man, any other white man who had anything to do. They called them the architects of the residential school, and there's just been too much suffering. There's been too many deaths. There's been too many suicides. There's been too many crises of addictions. Too much suffering to forgive. Too many generations. And it's all because of the actions of Canada's first Prime Minister. Canadians, a lot of Canadians don't want to think about the fact that there wouldn't even be a Canada. There would have never been a John A. Macdonald as a Prime Minister if it wasn't for the Anishinaabe fighters who fought with the British to keep the Americans out in the War of 1812. Any historian will tell you that's a fact. There would have never been a Canada. There would have never been the Confederation of Canada. We would have all been United States citizens. But in gratitude for what we did, Canada rounded up our children as if they were cattle and sent them to residential schools where thousands of them died. People could say that it's a dark chapter, and then they walk away as if that's all there is to it. I think sincerely that anyone who believes that John A. Macdonald was a hero and a good human being, I think they better prepare themselves to spend eternity with him. Because I do not want to spend eternity with the likes of that. To me, I could hardly say that anyone who would hurt children is a human being. I'm told that here at Akikojiwan, because of the mills, that there was 60 feet of sawdust on the bottom of the Ottawa River. And even in those times of Philemon Wright, there was people coming here from Europe who were saying it's wrong to pollute this beautiful river the way you are. But nobody listened to them. The Algonquins were driven out of here in 1840. The past is what it is. And what I don't understand is, even though I have every right to hate, I want you to know that Albert Dumont, Oshkinodin, has never hated anyone in his life. I cannot bring myself to hate anyone. Hate does not make any sense. If it made just a little bit of sense, maybe I would hate somebody. But it doesn't make no sense. But I know that the Algonquins have been hated by too many people. According to MacDonald, there was an Indian problem. Nobody has ever explained to me what the problem was. Where was the problem with us? What did we do that we were causing a problem? We were living in peace. We weren't declaring war on Canada. We were living well. And MacDonald swore to get rid of the Indian problem. Today, his actions have brought shame from all the people of the world when they hear about these unmarked graves. He has brought shame to this country. He never did get rid of the Indian problem. The taxpayers of today are paying taxes on all the money that is being spent because of the residential schools and what the residential schools impact has had on the indigenous peoples of this country. To me, it would make more sense that people would despise MacDonald for doing these things. All I ask as an Algonquin and as a human being is that do not adore him anymore. Get rid of his name off the parkway. Stop promoting him as a hero in schools, because he was not a hero. Come here to this place. Come to Akikojiwan. I really implore you to come here and feel the energy and the spirit of this place. The tranquility, the peace, the love. That the people who came here for ceremony's sake, not just for the Algonquin nation. The Ojibwe and the Cree, the Mi'kmaq, the Maliseet, and other nations came here too. We should renounce hatred, not just here, renounce it wherever it's taking place. Wherever oppression is taking place, let us do what a human being is called upon to do and renounce it. And find the courage to do so. It's normal and natural to renounce oppression. It's abnormal and unnatural not to. So I ask that you come here to Akikojiwan and reinvigorate your spirit and whatever it is that defines you as a human being. Let us think of our future generations. It's the time now of the strawberry moon. We called it the O'Damon moon, the heartberry moon. Let us never forget that we have a human heart. Let us help each other understand these things once more. So, miigwech, thank you so much for taking the time to listen today. Miigwech.